Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because when we reach 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you. The evening had settled over the small outpost on HFY with the usual serenity that preceded the night shifts. Dr. Elias Harrow was finishing up his day in a clinic, a modest structure equipped more for mining injuries and common ailments than anything exotic. The radio crackled to life, breaking the monotony of the silent, dimly lit room. "Dr. Harrow, are you there?" The dispatcher's voice echoed through the static. Elias leaned towards the microphone, pressing the transmit button. "This is Harrow." "What's up, Callie?" "There's been a distress signal from Sector 19. We think it's a downed craft," Callie replied, her voice tense. Elias furrowed his brow. Sector 19 was beyond their usual patrol routes, a dense forested area rarely visited by the outpost residents. "Any idea who's out there?" "One of our survey teams, maybe?" "Not likely," Callie said. "All teams are accounted for." "It doesn't match any known craft signatures either." Elias hesitated. The implications were clear. It was an alien vessel. Helping an alien, especially one from an unidentified vessel, was not standard protocol. "Callie, you know the rules. We're not equipped for." "I know the regulations, Elias, but you're the only medic for miles. What if someone's hurt?" "You have the oath." Elias sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Okay. Prepare the rover. I'm on my way." Minutes later, Elias met with Callie and another outpost member, Jonas, at the vehicle bay. Jonas, a burly man with a knack for mechanics, was strapping a med kit to the back of the rover. "Got everything you might need, Doc," Jonas said, patting the med kit. "And I threw in some extra rations and water. Just in case." "Appreciate it," Elias replied, climbing into the driver's seat. The rover's doors sealed with a hiss, and the dashboard flickered to life. As they ventured into the unknown, the darkness of the forest enveloped them. Elias kept his eyes fixed on a path illuminated by the rover's headlights, while Callie monitored the navigation system. "You really think this is a good idea?" Callie asked, her voice low. "It's not about good ideas, it's about doing what's right," Elias responded, steering the rover around a large rock. The ride was bumpy, and the silence that followed was filled only by the sound of the rover crunching over the rough terrain. After an hour, the navigation system beeped, signaling their approach to the coordinates of the distress signal. "There," Jonas pointed ahead. Through a clearing, they could see the smoldering remains of a small craft, partially hidden by the underbrush. Elias parked the rover a safe distance away and grabbed his medkit. "Let's be careful. We don't know what to expect." The trio approached the wreckage cautiously. The craft was unlike anything Elias had seen before, sleek and metallic, with symbols etched into its hull that glowed faintly in the darkness. Suddenly, a groan came from behind a piece of the torn hull. Elias rushed over, his medkit in hand, and found an alien woman. She was clearly in pain, her clothes torn, and her body marked with burns and bruises. "I'm here to help," Elias said softly, aware she might not understand him. The alien looked up, fear evident in her eyes, but too weak to move. Elias glanced back at Callie and Jonas. "I need to get her back to the clinic." "She's in bad shape." Jonas nodded, helping Elias lift the alien gently. "We've got you," he murmured as they carried her back to the rover. As they settled the alien into the vehicle, Elias looked at her, promising silently that he'd do whatever he could to save her. No matter the rules, his duty as a medic, to save lives, came first. And tonight, it was the life of this wounded and starving alien woman that needed him. Back at the outpost, Elias rushed the alien woman to the clinic with Jonas and Callie in tow. The clinic's bright fluorescent lights starkly contrasted the dark, silent woods they had just left. As they laid her gently on an exam table, Elias began assessing her injuries with clinical precision. "Her physiology isn't too different from ours, but these burns need immediate attention," Elias muttered, scanning her body with his medical equipment. "Callie, I need the dermal regenerator, and as much antiseptic as we have." "Got it," Callie responded quickly, rifling through the cabinets. Jonas stood awkwardly to the side, hands stuffed in his pockets. "Is there anything I can do?" "Yes, keep the power generator running without interruptions." "We can't afford a blackout," Elias said without looking up. Jonas nodded and left the room, his heavy boots echoing in the quiet corridor. As Elias applied the dermal regenerator to the alien's skin, her eyes fluttered open. She stared at him, her expression one of confusion and fear. "You're safe here," Elias assured her in a calm voice. though he knew she might not understand. "I'm here to help." She murmured something in her language, the words melodic and soft, but urgent. Elias couldn't decipher the meaning, but recognized the tone of someone in distress. "Callie, see if you can find any translation tools in the database. Anything that might help us communicate," he said, his eyes still fixed on the alien. "On it," Callie said, tapping away at the computer. After a few moments, she found a basic translation program that had been developed during the initial explorations of alien contact. "It's rudimentary, but it should help," she said, handing Elias a small device. Elias turned back to the alien, holding the device between them. "Can you understand me now?" he asked, his voice filtered through the translator. "Yes," came the translated reply, her voice filled with relief. "Thank you for helping me. My name is Serena." "Elias." "My name is Elias," he introduced himself with a nod. "You're very welcome, Serena. Can you tell me what happened?" Serena hesitated, her eyes shifting away momentarily before returning to his. "My ship malfunctioned. I was exploring, collecting data about your planet. I did not intend to enter your space without permission." Elias listened intently, nodding along as the translator conveyed her words. "You're not in any trouble, Serena. Right now, my only concern is your health." Jonas returned, announcing generators stable. "Shouldn't have any issues with power now." Elias thanked him and then turned his attention back to Serena. "You need rest and food. You're weak from injury and malnutrition." Serena nodded, her gaze softening. "I have not encountered kindness from a human before." "Well, let's hope you can say you have now," Elias replied with a small smile. As he and Callie continued treating Serena's injuries, Elias felt a profound sense of purpose. He was breaking protocols, perhaps even laws, but in that moment, none of that mattered. He was a medic, and he had a life to save. Outside the clinic, Jonas leaned against the wall, watching the sun rise over the horizon of Zler-5. He thought about the implications of their actions tonight. Helping an alien, a real alien, felt like stepping into a new frontier. It was daunting, yet somehow standing there, he felt more connected to the universe than ever before. Elias, with the help of Jonas, had set up a temporary shelter next to the clinic to give Serena a quiet space to recover. The structure was basic, a few panels and a power unit to keep it warm, but it was sheltered and private. As Serena rested on a makeshift bed, Elias and Jonas sat outside under a small awning, sipping on lukewarm coffee. "She's getting stronger every day," Elias remarked, watching the alien woman through the transparent side of the shelter. "Her body heals fast. It's incredible." Jonas nodded, wiping the steam from his glasses. "What are you going to do about, the authorities? They're not exactly fond of unregistered aliens popping up." Elias sighed deeply. "I'm not sure yet, but I owe her my help. We'll figure out something for Serena that doesn't involve handing her over to the bureaucrats." The sound of footsteps diverted their attention as Callie approached, her hands full with a tray of food. "I made something for Serena. It's based on the nutritional data we found about her species. Think she'll like it?" "Let's hope so," Elias replied, standing up to assist her. "Let's introduce her to the famous Callie cuisine." The three of them entered the shelter. Serena was sitting up, looking much more alert than the day before. Elias introduced the meal, and with the help of the translator device, explained what each item was. "Food is a good start to learn about each other's culture," Elias smiled. Serena tentatively tasted the food, her expression one of curiosity and then satisfaction. "This is good, thank you," Serena said through the translator, her tone warm. "You're welcome," Callie responded, clearly pleased. "If you need anything adjusted, just let us know." The conversation shifted towards learning more about each other. Elias, always the inquisitive one, asked Serena about her planet and what had brought her to theirs. "My world is much like yours, but our sun is fading. We're explorers looking for solutions, new homes, resources." Serena's voice trailed off, weighed down by her mission's gravity. "That's a heavy burden to carry," Jonas commented, understanding the drive behind such desperation. Serena nodded, then turned the conversation towards them. "And you? What brings you to such a remote outpost?" Elias and Jonas exchanged glances. "We came for the quiet," Elias joked lightly, then grew serious. "Different reasons. Mine was to escape the bureaucracy of central planets. Jonas here loves the mechanics of outpost systems, keeps him busy, and I like being where I can make a difference," Callie added, her voice firm yet gentle. The group talked well into the evening, sharing stories and laughter, the tension of the situation easing with each passing moment. It was clear that despite their differences, a mutual respect was forming. As night fell, Elias stood up, stretching. We should let you rest, Serena. Tomorrow, we'll need to start thinking about your next steps. Serena nodded, a trace of worry flickering across her face. Thank you, Elias, Callie, Jonas. I am in your debt. You're not in anyone's debt, Elias assured her as they left the shelter. Just get better. Outside, the cool air of the night brushed against their faces. Elias looked up at the stars, pondering the vastness of space and the unlikely friendship forming under its vast canopy. Jonas clapped him on the shoulder. Whatever comes next, we'll handle it together. Like we always do, Jonas said, his voice steady and reassuring. Elias nodded, the weight of his responsibility heavy on his shoulders yet lightened by the support of his friends. Together, he agreed, turning back towards the shelter with a renewed sense of purpose. Over the next few days, as Serena regained strength, the makeshift shelter became a place of learning and cultural exchange. Elias had rigged up a simple communication board based on the translator's vocabulary, and every day they would gather around it to teach each other their languages. This morning, Jonas had brought in a new set of tools that he thought might make the learning process easier. Found these old language software kits in the storage. Might help expand the translator's capabilities, he said, handing the kits to Elias. Great find, Jonas. Let's see if we can integrate these, Elias replied, examining the kits with interest. He set up the equipment, and soon they were trying out phrases and words, the software slowly learning and adapting to Serena's language. Serena was a quick learner, her curiosity about human language as keen as their interest in hers. How do you say friend in your language? She asked through the device. In English, it's just friend, or buddy if you're Jonas, Elias chuckled, glancing at Jonas, who grinned back. Buddy. Friend, Serena repeated, smiling. And how do you say thank you? Thank you, Elias said. But there's a bunch of ways to express it, depending on the context. They continued like this for hours, exchanging words and laughter, the atmosphere light but filled with the excitement of discovery. Callie brought in snacks and joined in, her knack for languages shining through as she corrected pronunciations with a gentle patience. After their language session, Elias pulled out a map of the region. Serena, can you show us where you've been? It might help us understand more about what you need. Serena leaned over the map, pointing to several areas. I was here and here, she indicated. I collected samples. Your planet has rich resources, very different from mine. Jonas, who had been listening intently, added, We have some data on these areas too. Might be worth comparing notes, see if there's any overlap that could help both our peoples. As they dove into a discussion about the geographical and botanical similarities and differences between their worlds, the door chimed, and Dr. Laura Benson, another member of the outpost and a biologist, stepped in. Heard we're having a cross-cultural science meeting, she joked, her eyes bright with interest. Absolutely, Elias welcomed her. Serena was just showing us her exploration routes. Laura sat next to Serena, peering at the map. I specialize in xenobotany. Perhaps I can offer some insights into the plant life you've encountered? Serena nodded eagerly. Yes, I would appreciate that. I have samples in my ship. I'll help retrieve them, Jonas offered. Might need some special tools to open the ship safely, though. Let's organize a trip then, Elias decided. Jonas, Laura, you're up for a little expedition? Both nodded, excited by the prospect of further exploration. Count me in too, Callie said. Who knows what else we might find? As the group planned their trip, the sense of unity and shared purpose was palpable. They were no longer just a human outpost team and an alien visitor. They were collaborators, bridging their worlds through the power of communication and shared knowledge. As they wrapped up for the day, Elias looked around at the group, their faces alight with enthusiasm and cooperation. Thanks, everyone. This is how peace starts, isn't it? Understanding each other, learning from each other. Exactly, Laura agreed. One word at a time. Serena smiled, her earlier trepidation replaced by a hopeful excitement. One word at a time, she echoed in her newly practiced English, the words strong and clear. The expedition to retrieve Serena's samples was marked by a mix of anticipation and camaraderie. Elias, Jonas, Laura, Callie, and Serena boarded 2 rovers, heading toward the crash site with the early morning sun casting long shadows over the terrain. All right, everyone ready for a little adventure? Elias asked as they bumped along the rugged path. Always, Jonas replied from the driver's seat, his eyes fixed on the rough trail ahead. Laura, seated next to Serena, was reviewing data on her tablet. Serena, the plant life forms you mentioned, do they have any medicinal properties known to your people? Serena nodded, her eyes reflecting a thoughtful intensity. Yes, some are used in healing. I can show you which ones. The team arrived at the crash site and quickly set up a perimeter for safety. The air was thick with the scent of alien flora, a tangy, almost electric smell that reminded them they were far from familiar territory. Jonas and Elias worked to access the remains of Serena's ship, using tools to carefully remove debris and open sealed compartments. Meanwhile, Laura and Callie followed Serena around the site as she pointed out various plants she had been studying. This one, Serena said, gesturing to a luminescent vine with tiny, star-shaped blooms, is very important. It helps with regeneration. Laura collected samples, her hands steady and precise. This could be groundbreaking for us. Our regenerative medicine is effective, but has limitations. As they collected, Callie documented everything with a camera and took notes. Imagine integrating this with our tech. What a leap forward that could be. While the others were busy, Jonas found something buried under a pile of twisted metal. Elias, come over here. You need to see this. Elias walked over, and together they uncovered a small, metallic box, intricately carved and still intact. What do you think it is? Elias asked, wiping the dirt off. Only one way to find out, Jonas said as they carefully opened the box. Inside, they found a series of small, crystalline devices that shimmered with internal light. Data crystals, maybe? Elias guessed, holding one up to the light. Possibly. We should have Serena take a look, Jonas suggested. They called Serena over, who took one look at the crystals and gasped. These are memory crystals. They contain, her voice trailed off as she picked one up, they contain history, knowledge from my world. The importance of the discovery seemed to weigh on everyone as they realized the potential. This could help us understand so much more about each other's civilizations, Laura said, her voice filled with, yes, Serena agreed. It can. I am grateful we found these. They were meant to be shared. With the successful retrieval of the samples and the unexpected discovery of the memory crystals, the group made their way back to the outpost, their rovers loaded with potential scientific treasures. Back at the clinic-turned-makeshift lab, Elias watched as everyone worked together, testing, analyzing, and discussing their findings. The excitement was palpable, and the day's discoveries had brought them all closer. Jonas clapped Elias on the back. Not a bad day's work, Not bad at all, Elias smiled, his eyes on Serena, who was showing Laura how to interface with a memory crystal. We might just make a difference here, all of us together. As the sun set over the outpost, the group remained huddled around their equipment, their faces lit by the soft glow of screens and the deeper glow of discovery. Their shared efforts not only bridged their worlds, but also seeded the possibility of a future where such collaborations could flourish, driven by mutual respect and a relentless pursuit of knowledge. Under the soft glow of Zalera 5's twin moons, Elias found Serena outside the shelter, looking up at the night sky. He approached quietly, not wanting to disturb her reverie. What are you thinking about? Elias asked, his voice gentle in the quiet of the night. Serena turned, her face reflecting the moonlight. I was thinking about home. How different yet similar it looks from here. It must be hard, being so far away from everything you know, Elias said, coming to stand beside her. Yes, but also enlightening. I've learned so much here, not just about your science, but about kindness, Serena replied, her eyes meeting his. Elias nodded, feeling the weight of her words. I feel the same. Meeting you, learning about your world, it's changed me. There was a pause, the air charged with a new understanding between them. Elias, Serena started, then hesitated, searching for the right words in her still unfamiliar English. Take your time, Elias encouraged, his gaze supportive. I feel connected to you, in a way that is new to me. Is this what friendship is on Earth? She asked, her voice uncertain. It's definitely part of it, Elias smiled. But sometimes it can also be the start of something more. Serena looked at him, curiosity and a hint of something else, perhaps anticipation, in her eyes. More, she echoed. Yes, more, Elias confirmed, stepping closer. He reached out, tentatively taking her hand. Her fingers were cool and slightly rough, her grip firm yet gentle. Serena's breath caught, and she looked down at their intertwined hands. Elias, I'm not familiar with human relationships. But this feels right. Encouraged, Elias lifted her hand to his lips, kissing it softly. Neither am I, not really. But exploring this together, it could be part of our journey. Their eyes met, and for a moment there was a perfect understanding. Elias leaned in, his heart pounding, and Serena met him halfway. Their first kiss was tentative, a gentle testing of unfamiliar waters, but it quickly deepened, driven by the emotions they had both been quietly nurturing. After a moment, they parted, both slightly breathless. Was that okay? Elias asked, his voice a whisper. More than okay, Serena whispered back, her smile radiant. They stood together, hand in hand, looking at the stars in comfortable silence until Elias spoke up. We should probably talk about what this means. For us and for the rules we're bending by being together. Serena nodded. Yes, we should be cautious. But I do not want to stop feeling this happiness. Neither do I, Elias agreed. We'll find a way to make it work. Whatever it takes. The promise hung between them, sincere and profound. They walked back to the shelter, their steps light, their spirits lifted by the possibility of a shared future. Back at the main building, Callie and Jonas were winding down for the night. Elias and Serena found them in the common room, sharing a quiet drink. Everything okay? Callie asked, noticing their joined hands. Yes, more than okay, Elias replied, a subtle joy in his voice. Jonas raised an eyebrow but smiled. Well, good. It's about time you found some happiness around here, boss. The group chuckled, the mood easy and content. They spent the rest of the evening sharing stories and making plans for the next steps in their research and their lives. As the night drew to a close, Elias felt a peace he hadn't known in a long time. Serena, with her courage and her curiosity, had opened a door to something extraordinary. And together, they were stepping through it, ready for whatever lay ahead. As the days passed, the implications of Elias and Serena's relationship began to crystallize, not just for them, but for the entire outpost. They faced a future fraught with challenges, including the looming question of Serena's official status and the potential repercussions from both human and alien authorities. Elias and Jonas were in the clinic, recalibrating some of the medical equipment to better accommodate non-human physiology, a task that had become more pressing as they considered Serena's long-term presence. So, what's the plan, Elias? Jonas asked, handing him a tool. We can't hide her forever. And it's not just about hiding. It's about integrating her, making sure she has a life here. Elias tightened a bolt and sighed. I know. I've been thinking about it nonstop. I need to speak with the outpost commander, see if there's a way to work this out diplomatically. Jonas nodded. And what about Serena? How does she feel about all this? She's willing to fight for the right to stay, Elias replied. She believes, and I agree, that her presence here could serve as a bridge between our species. Her knowledge, what she shared, it's invaluable. You're talking about setting a precedent, Jonas pointed out. Not just for her, but for future interactions with her people. Exactly, Elias said. It's about more than us now. Meanwhile, Serena was in the common area with Callie, learning to prepare a simple human meal. Their conversation, however, was anything but simple. Elias is talking to the commander today, Serena mentioned as she stirred a pot under Callie's watchful eye. Callie tasted the sauce and nodded in approval before responding. He's doing everything he can. You know that, right? Yes, I trust him completely, Serena said, though a hint of worry creased her brow. But I am afraid of the outcome. If they decide I cannot stay, we won't let it come to that, Callie assured her firmly. You're part of this community now. We stick together. Back in his office, Elias dialed the communication system to connect with the outpost commander. The screen flickered to life, showing the stern face of Commander Helen Myrov. Dr. Harrow, Commander Myrov greeted him. What can I do for you? Elias took a deep breath before speaking. Commander, I need to discuss a matter of some delicacy. It's about Serena, the alien we rescued. I'm listening, the commander said, her expression unreadable. Elias explained the situation, emphasizing Serena's cooperative behavior and the potential benefits of her insights into her technology and culture. Her presence here isn't just a matter of humanitarian aid anymore, Elias argued. It's a potential diplomatic bridge. She wants to be here to contribute. Commander Myrov considered this for a moment. I'll need to consult with my superiors, Elias. This is bigger than our outpost. It has implications for interstellar relations. I understand, Commander. But please consider what she's already brought to us. Her willingness to share her knowledge, to integrate. It's unprecedented. I'll see what I can do, Myra finally said. But prepare for all outcomes, Dr. Harrow. After the call, Elias met with Jonas, Serena, and Callie in the common room. The commander will consult her superiors. We should have an answer soon, he announced. Serena took his hand, squeezing it. Whatever happens, I'm grateful to all of you. Being here has changed me. We're not giving up, Callie said, looking around at the group. No matter what they say, we'll find a way. Jonas clapped his hands, a grin spreading across his face. That's right. Let's not look grim just yet. We've still got time to enjoy today. They all smiled, taking comfort in their solidarity. As they returned to their evening routines, the weight of the impending decision hung over them, but so did the strength of their newfound bonds. Whatever the outcome, they were in it together. The morning light filtered softly through the windows of the outpost's main hall where Elias, Serena, Jonas, and Callie had gathered. Each face showed a mix of hope and anxiety as they awaited the final decision from Commander Myrov. Elias, who hadn't slept much, poured himself another cup of coffee, his hands slightly trembling. No matter what happens, we've done everything we can, he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. Jonas clapped him on the shoulder. That's right. And we've got a good case. Serena is not just a survivor. She's a pioneer now. The sound of the communication terminal, buzzing, cut through the quiet tension. They all turned towards the screen as Elias answered the call. Commander Myrov appeared on the screen, her expression neutral. Good morning, everyone, she started, nodding to each of them. I've discussed the situation with my superiors extensively. We've reviewed all the data about Serena's contributions and her integration into your outpost. Serena held Elias's hand tightly, watching the commander's face for any hint of the decision. Commander Myrov continued, It's been decided that Serena will be granted a temporary residency at the outpost under the condition that she continues her cultural and technological exchange. This is a trial. Her presence will be reviewed quarterly. Relief washed over the room, visible in the smiles and the sudden lightness in the atmosphere. Elias let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Thank you, Commander. We won't let you down. I know you won't, Dr. Harrow. This is a new beginning for all of us, Commander Myrov said, and then signed off. Serena looked around at her friends, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I don't have the words to thank you properly, she said, her voice thick with emotion. You don't need to thank us, Callie said, smiling warmly. We're just glad you're staying. Jonas, ever the practical one, chimed in. So, what's the first order of business with our new resident? Well, I was thinking about setting up a proper research lab for Serena and Laura to work in, Elias suggested. And maybe a celebration tonight? I like the sound of that, Jonas agreed. A celebration for our new beginning. As they began planning, the sense of community and accomplishment filled the room. They had faced the unknown, challenged the norms, and emerged stronger together. That evening, the celebration took place in the outpost common area. Music filled the space, and laughter echoed off the walls. Serena, who had been a figure of curiosity and uncertainty just weeks ago, was now at the heart of the celebration, sharing stories of her home and listening intently to the tales of her new friends. As the party continued, Elias pulled Serena aside, leading her to a quieter corner. How are you feeling about everything? He asked, looking into her eyes. I'm overwhelmed, but in the best way, Serena admitted. This is more than I could have hoped for. I was so scared of being sent away, of losing all of this. You never have to go through anything like that alone again, Elias said, taking her hands. You're part of this community now, part of this family. And you, Serena said, her voice soft but steady, are the reason I dare to hope for a better future here. You saved me in more ways than one. Elias smiled, drawing her close. Only a desperate human medic dare treat this wounded and starving alien woman. He quoted the phrase that had started it all. Serena laughed, a sound full of warmth and life. And only a brave alien woman could have made such a stubborn medic realize there's more to life than just following rules. They stood together, looking out at the party, at their friends and new family. It was the beginning of something extraordinary, a story of unity and understanding that had only just begun to unfold. Together, they looked forward to the future, ready to face whatever it might bring, with courage, curiosity, and most importantly, together.